So Nova Credit, we started as a graduate research project where we were interviewing classmates at Stanford about their experience with financial services. Where'd you get a credit card? Where'd you get an auto loan? Did you get a student loan? How? And it was in that user research of speaking with 100 plus graduate students that we realized that half of the students were foreign, they were international students, and 100% of that half would tell you the same story about, I can't get a credit card, I can't get a student loan, I can't get an auto loan. And the reason for it is that when you first come to the US and apply for one of those products, those banks are going to check the US credit bureau, Experian, Equifax, TransUnion, who are going to say, we don't know who this person is because you just arrived. And so by no fault of your own, the US financial system is going to shut you out. And we solved that problem. And the way that we do it is we allow people to access their information from their home country and bring that into the US and use that to be able to apply for credit history. So if you come to the US from Canada or Mexico or India or the UK, we can plug into the credit bureaus in those countries and extract that information to the US, and we call that product the credit passport, where the same way that your passport is your key to entry to traveling the world, your credit passport is how you access financial services as you move from one country to another. It's been a roller coaster. Yeah. I mean, every chapter has its own unique set of challenges. I think in the earliest of days, the early founding days, like the rule of thumb is like very rapid iteration, MVP methodology, and the approach that we took really early on is we started, and we knew nothing about credit data, credit infrastructure. We were like totally new to the space, and frankly, at times a little bit of naive optimism is what it takes to go deep enough into a problem to actually uncover an insight that's worthy of solving. But for us, one of the first things we did was, we printed out my co-founder's credit report from the UK, and we started walking into bank branches and basically like, hey, here's her report. Try to apply. We're going to try to apply, and all of them are like, wow, you have a really good score. We don't know why we can't approve you, but like it seems like you should be approved, but like we don't know why, and it's because our policies are that we'll actually have to go back to the central credit risk office, and so then we're like, all right, well now you can't do that by walking into a branch. You actually have to go and like act at like a corporate level to make sure you have your information accessible. But having that like test and learn approach is how you start to refine your thesis and ultimately get to a unique insight that allows you to assemble a team or raise the capital required to be able to actually build a business. Yeah, selling to banks is not for the faint of heart. It's a very long sales cycle. It's a very very high multi-touch sale. You have to work with dozens of people. And then every 2-3 years, a bank's going to press the big red button, and it's a reorg, and they move all their people around. And so one day you thought your executive sponsor was this person, and then all of a sudden that person's either not at the bank or at a different part of the bank, and you kind of have to, if you're not prepared, you have to start over. Whereas in reality, if you're doing your job well, you're constantly building your bench of people to be able to work through that sale. But it's complicated. It takes a lot of years to figure out how to do it well. You have to invest a lot in information security and compliance, making sure you have the right set of policies and procedures to operate as a business that's working with really highly sensitive information. I think B2B and infrastructure companies right now are highly prized, but to actually break into the financial services sector requires, at least in our business, several years to assemble a differentiated data set, differentiated analytics, differentiated value prop. Then it takes a couple years to become, compliant with everything that you need to be in order to be able to do business with the types of players that we work with. And then it takes a couple years just to get into business with those players. And so, if you're lucky, you can get your first big bank on the platform 3-4 years in, right? And so that takes a lot of grit to assemble a team to keep the organization focused around a singular mission, and to be able to push through that kind of adversity and regulatory change and organizational change. It takes an incredible amount of grit to build a business, and you have to, at the end of the day, really believe in the mission of your work and why it's important to the world, and and to be able to continue to find the fire to push through. Yeah, I mean, we get consumer testimonials all the time, consumers that'll rate us on some public rating site. And for people that we are actually able to get them access to the financial services that they want, it's a pretty life-changing wow experience, right? Like when I first moved to the U.S. with my parents from Russia, we started over like everyone does, and it took us over a year to get enough savings to be able to buy our first used car. And the immigrant journey is an incredibly humbling experience. You have to learn a new language. You have to retrain yourself professionally. You don't have the same social safety net that you had in your home country. And then on top of that, the financial services sector shuts you out, not because they don't want your business, but because they just don't know how. They don't have the tools for how to understand who you are. And yeah, it's cool to be able to solve that problem and to make immigration a little bit easier for people, to make it feel a little bit less vulnerable. And I think that's we're just at the tip of the spear in terms of our ability to have an impact on this community. We've got a lot more work to do, and we're five years into this challenge already, and we've got many more years to go to be able to actually solve this problem of financial access for people who are new to this country. So many. There's the challenge is less about finding exciting opportunities to go after and more about narrowing in on which one to really focus on. But for us right now, where we're focused is we're expanding deeper into the U.S. market. So we've historically really focused on credit cards and student loans and helping immigrants get access to those. We've got a lot more work to do to get more of those partners on the platform. We're also expanding into new verticals. So we just announced a partnership a couple weeks ago in the auto space, so helping people get auto loans and auto leases. Also going after the telecom space and helping people get phone plans and device financing. So that's just what we're doing in the U.S. We're also expanding internationally because we recognize that the U.S. is not the only recipient of recent immigrants. There's people who move all over the world, and we want to be in a position to be able to serve those migrant corridors. So people from the Philippines moving to Canada, Nigeria to the UK, South Asia to Singapore. There's a lot of migrant corridors outside of the U.S., and these challenges exist there as well, and that's an opportunity for us to create value. As soon as we can. I mean, if anyone watching has introductions and connections to the big banks or the big credit bureaus in Pakistan, we'd certainly love to find ways to serve the community. I think we made a strong attempt maybe 3 or 4 years ago to build a partnership in Pakistan. It didn't quite work out then, but the world has changed and there's more data, more availability, bigger systems, and so I think it's worth revisiting. And if anyone has that network, we'd welcome it with open arms. Thank you. Thanks for having me.